Once the Americans made the seas free and safe for all, transport costs dropped so quickly that manufacturing companies didn't just relocate outside the major cities or the old river-based circulatory systems. At least in part, they relocated outside the major economies altogether. Any country that could build a port and some surrounding infrastructure could participate in the world of low-skill, low-value-added manufacturing, processing foods and producing textiles, cement, cheap electronics, and toys while building out their industrial plant and skill sets. Add in containerization and the process kicked into high gear. In calendar year 1969, the first full year of container service from Japan to California, Japanese exports to the United States increased by nearly a quarter. The Asians perceived Western consumption as their path to stability and wealth, and all reforged their economic and social norms around export-based manufacturing. Japan vanguarded the process, but it didn't take long for Taiwan, South Korea, Southeast Asia, and China to follow. Decades of exports, growth, and stability enabled most of these players to climb steadily up the value chain. Japan, for example, went from producing cheap stereos to producing some of the most advanced industrial technology in the world. Taiwan was the original land of plastic toys, but now makes the world's most advanced computer chips. China only really entered this mix at the turn of the century, but wow, did it make a splash. China had the benefit of cheaper internal transportation than the other Asian players, more resources to throw into the economy, and a labor base bigger than the rest of Asia put together. Here's what the Asian manufacturing constellation looks like as of 2022. Japan, Korea, and Taiwan handle the high value add in pretty much all value-added manufactured products, everything from white goods to automotive to machinery. The trio truly excels at displays and semiconductors, most notably in the design and manufacture of high-capacity chips. The Koreans, in particular, are scary good at cellular telephony. Both the Japanese and Koreans operate via a series of sprawling, vertically integrated conglomerates, the Keiretsu and the Chaebol respectively. Think Toyota and Mitsubishi, Samsung and LG. These conglomerates do everything. Let's just pick one, Korea's SK. It's a major player in oil refining, petrochemicals, films, polyester, solar panels, LCD and LED lights, labels, battery components, DRAM and flash memory chips, and on the side, SK does a booming business in construction, civil engineering, and IT and mobile phone services, not to be confused with phone manufacture. Taiwan, in contrast, is a swarm of minnows. What few large firms the Taiwanese have fostered, such as semiconductor leader TSMC, are a step above world class, in part because they tap the skills of thousands of small firms that hyper-focus on one very specific piece of the broader semiconductor industry. In essence, foreign firms or larger Taiwanese firms such as MediaTek subcontract out thousands of micro-improvements to those small firms for each new chip design. And those minnowy piranhas busy themselves with making as solid advances as possible for one tiny bit of the overall process. The larger players then combine the best-in-class outcomes from the whole constellation of Taiwanese R&D to make their best-in-world chips. It does not get higher value added than that. At the bottom of the quality and value scale lies China, which despite years of effort and untold billions of dollars invested, has to this point not only proven unable to crack the high-end market, it cannot even build the machines that build most of the middle market stuff. While low-cost labor in China has enabled the Chinese to dominate product assembly, nearly all high-end components and a fair amount of middle-quality components are imported from elsewhere. The products China makes, as opposed to assembles, tend to be on the lower end. Steel and plastics and anything that can be die-cast or injection molded. By many measures, China is going backward. The country's manufacturing output as a percent of GDP has been falling since 2006. which, judging by corporate profitability figures, was probably China's peak year in terms of production efficiency. China should have become a non-competitive country in manufacturing in the late 2000s because it had exhausted its coastal labor pool. Instead, the coast imported at least 300 million, likely as many as 400 million workers from the interior. The reason for the squishy data is that most internal migration in China is strictly illegal, far more so than Central American migration to the United States. That bought the Chinese economy another 15 years, but at the cost of hardwiring, both within the coast and between the coast and the interior, massive inequality in income and levels of industrial development. It also makes the Chinese goal of a domestically oriented, consumption-driven, internationally insulated economy flatly impossible to reach. Little of the income from all those Chinese exports went to the workers, especially the workers from the interior, so little can be spent on consumption. China now has a